and I will start with the content. All right, guys. Hi, everyone, and welcome to another Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube live session. And this is our session number 72 that I hold every Sunday evening at 8:30 p.m. Brisbane time. So session number 72, that's very good. And this is another live session from the series Engineering Qualification Validation in Australia. And in this live session, I will talk about some of the reasons why your application can be rejected by Engineers Australia. Obviously, your CDR application, your competency demonstration report. I hope that you guys know what CDR means. So that's probably the first question in our interaction tonight. You can answer yes or no. Do you know what CDR means? What's the meaning of CDR? Competency Demonstration Report. What is that for? Let me see in the chat. Good morning, Mauro. So do you guys know what CDR means? Or what do you need to do? What do you need to do CDR? So put in the comments yes or no, and I can then, obviously, depending on your answer, I can have a little bit more emphasis explaining what a CDR is, and if you know what CDR is, then I'll talk about other things as well. So thanks, Nico. You know what CDR means. That's a very good start. Hopefully others, I don't know why I cannot see some of the comments. Luli, Facebook, no, you don't know what CDR means. That's not a problem. I'm here to help you to understand. Muhammad, for those who don't have Washington Accord degree, yeah, that's a very good comment, Muhammad. CDR is for those ones that they either don't have Washington Accord or Sydney Accord or Dublin Accord, or they haven't really graduated as an accredited program here in Australia. It's all good. Felipe joined, yeah. All right. So we've got pretty much some that they do know, others that they don't. And this, obviously, the validation process, usually my content is for those ones that they need to do the CDR, Competency Demonstration Report, which, as Muhammad, and thank you very much, Muhammad, in Facebook, you rightly said, if you haven't graduated here in Australia in an accredited course, or if you're not really part of or your country is not really part of one of the accords, Washington Accord, Sydney Accord, or Dublin Accord, you then need to do follow the CDR pathway, Competency Demonstration Report. And probably that's a good segue, just to let you know that I decided today the date that I'm going to start my free workshop, the Engineering Qualification Validation Workshop. I'm going to start on the 29th of November. I'm going to actually put in the comments. So 29th of November 2020 at 10 a.m. Brisbane time. I will start the free workshop, Engineering Qualification Validation in Australia. So I'm going to copy and paste these ones in YouTube as well, and here on Instagram I'm going just to put the date, so 29th of November 2020, and you will notice put the time as well at 10 a.m. Where's that? 10 a.m. And you will notice that in Instagram, I'm interacting with you with my other profile. Unfortunately, it's in Portuguese, Como venci meu câncer, which is how did I overcome my cancer. Some of you may know I am a survivor of cancer, 7 years already, and I have another profile to raise awareness of this disease for people younger than 50 years old. So if you would like to perhaps follow my profile there, help my project, because I'm trying to raise awareness so other people, they can have more awareness about colon cancer, which was a cancer that I had. All right, so let me check everything is going all right. Okay, good. So I'm going to start the free workshop on the 29th of November. And for those ones that they would like to register for free, the description has the link, and I'm also copy and pasting in the comments. Those ones in Instagram, if you want to register to the free workshop that starts the end of this month, the link is in my bio. All right, so for those, but first, before I start the content, perhaps you don't know me. My name is Gerson Ida, and I'm the founder of www.engineersinaustralia.com, a website that I created to share content of value and useful information to help you in your journey to validate your engineering qualification in Australia. And I also share some information about other things about engineering, like workplace health and safety, environmental management, day-to-day of an engineering in Australia, and also some job opportunities as well. And obviously, if you have any questions, please send in the comments. And during the live session tonight, I'll be more than happy to look at the questions and answer those questions for you if I know. If I don't know, I will do my research and I'll come back perhaps with another live session, or I can record a video or put in my post. So I've got already one question here. Yeah, thanks, Mauro. I'll come back to your question a little bit later on, about 5 or 10 minutes. And for those ones that didn't just join now, I've asked in the beginning that if you can, during the content, I'm going to talk about a few things that could be rejected. If you think something that it's interesting and something that you learned, towards the end, I'm going to do an Instagram post, and I would like you to comment in that post with something that you kind of learned tonight. And depending on the number of the comments, I will then publish the notes of this live session in my YouTube channel in the video description. I will actually copy and paste. The notes. Or even better than that, I think what I'm going to do a PDF. What about if I do a PDF and I put in my Telegram group? You guys probably part of my Telegram group. If you are not part of my Telegram group, I'm going to put the link in there. Nowadays, how many are we in my Telegram group? We are already 740 members. I don't know if you can see there. Engineering Qualification Validation. 740 members. So I'm going to post in my Telegram group a PDF. And this PDF is just for you guys that are in this live session, because it's going to have a password. So I just decided now. So I'm going to tell you the password towards the end, and then you can then open the notes of this live session. All right, so a few things that can be rejected. And how do I know the things that potentially could be rejected in your application for your CDR? Well, I know that because unfortunately, I was contacted by some fellow engineers that they had their application rejected by Engineers Australia, and they also came back to me asking to help them to fix their problem. And unfortunately, as you know, I work full time. And I work a lot, actually. I work about 40 to 50 hours a week. And the spare time that I have, I'm dedicating to this project. And it doesn't really leave me a lot of spare time. So, and to fix that problem is usually you need a lot of time. And so unfortunately, I couldn't help them. But the few things that they came to me that Engineers Australia rejected, and I put some in the video description. The first thing is that they chose the wrong experience. So actually going to so they chose the wrong experience. But why is it so important to choose the right experience? Well, it is important because Engineers Australia, they check the ANZ SEO occupation definition, which is ANZ SEO, I think is Australian, New Zealand standard competency of occupations or something like that. And it's the definition that the Department of Home Affairs or Immigration Department, they use to classify the occupations, the professional occupations here in Australia. And Engineers Australia, they use the same ANZ SEO occupation definition to compare and to assess if your experience is similar to the experience of an equivalent engineer here in Australia. So for example, a civil engineer here in Australia, there is a particular definition according to ANZ SEO. And engineers in other countries, they could have slightly different occupation definition. And if an engineer has an experience in their country, but that experience does not really match with the occupation definition here in Australia according to ANZ SEO, Engineers Australia is not going to recognize that experience as valid for the civil engineer, for example. And a very classic example of a civil engineer experience that's not really recognized here in Australia is when civil engineers, they do refurbishment of houses, refurbishment of shops, stores, and etc. Because as much as, for example, I'm from Brazil, and in Brazil, a civil engineer does do refurbishment of shops and houses, etc. But here in Australia, it's not a job for engineers. And if a civil engineer uses that experience in their career episode, Engineers Australia is most likely, almost certain, to reject that career episode. Just checking some comments there. So really, really important to choose the right experience. And obviously the question is, how do we choose the right experience? Well, tonight I'm going to talk about the reasons why people could get rejected. In my workshop, I actually talk about how you can choose the right experience. And I'm going to do a few live sessions during the workshop, and then I can explore in more details. Another example of experience is that the competencies of each engineer or each type of engineer can be different from your country and other countries. So for example, here we've got a few people here on Instagram. Where did you graduate? Did you graduate in Brazil, Colombia, India, Pakistan? Let me know, where did you graduate? I graduated in Brazil, and I graduated some 26 years ago. Looks like a lot of time already, almost retiring. And you guys, where did you graduate? Did you also graduate in Brazil? Did you graduate in Colombia, Mexico, Pakistan? In Brazil, for example, I'm a civil engineer, and in Brazil, hi Nico, Argentina. In Brazil, I'm a civil engineer, and there, a civil engineer, for example, can do the design and installation of electrical stuff, low voltage electrical installations. And I myself, I designed already electrical installations. I've installed electrical equipment. And if I use this experience in my career episode here in Australia, it's not going to be good, because electrical design and electrical installation is not for civil engineers here in Australia. It is for electrical engineers. So as much as in Brazil I am competent and I am qualified to do that, here in Australia, civil engineers, they're not. So that's another example of an experience that as much as you were qualified or you are qualified to do in your home country, you may not be qualified to do here. So it's very important to double check that. Thanks guys. I got Mauro from Brazil, Felipe from Brazil. We've got Elvis from Brazil, Mohammed from Pakistan, Yashvir from India. Yeah, welcome. And Yashvir, he's a mechanical engineer. Mohammed, electrical engineer. Yeah. Obviously, Mauro is a mechanical engineer as well. So that's pretty much about experiences. There's so many other things that could go wrong in experiences, but we don't really have a lot of time. So this couple of examples. First, make sure that your experience does match with the ANZ SEO occupation definition. And second, make sure that the competencies that you did in your country, they align with the qualifications that you can do here in Australia. The other dot point that I put in the video description was about competencies. So as you know, or well, some of you know, others they may not, because somebody was saying that they don't know. I think it was somebody in Facebook that Luli Guerrero, she said that she doesn't know, or she didn't know what CDR means. So obviously, not knowing what CDR means, she may not know what the competencies, the 16 competencies that is required for you to demonstrate in your CDR application. And competencies, it is another important part that many engineers, they actually get rejected by Engineers Australia. Engineers Australia, when you write your career episodes, you have to demonstrate 16 competencies as listed in the manual, in the booklet, Migration Skills Assessment. And if you don't address the competencies, Engineers Australia will most certainly reject your application. And the competencies, they gotta be well demonstrated. They gotta be solid, they gotta be consistent, they gotta carry evidences, and most importantly, the competencies of your experiences, they need to match each competency of the 16 competencies. I know that looks like a little bit complicated, but it is complicated, unfortunately. The validation process is simple, but it's not easy. And I keep saying that. I said that many, many times, and I'll keep repeating myself. So you know, the process is simple. There are six steps that you gotta follow to validate your engineering qualification in Australia. So that's very simple. You read the booklet, it says very clear what the 6 steps are. Unfortunately, it's not easy. There are some steps that are easier than others, but there are some steps that are difficult. English test. You have to have minimum scores of English test. For some people, it's easier. For others, it's difficult. To write your career episodes. For some people, will be easy, but for the majority of people, will be more difficult. Summary statement. Summary statement is where you gotta address the 16 competencies. You gotta number the paragraphs and write down the paragraph numbers. So for some people, it's logic, it's easy. Majority of people, it's not so easy, it's difficult. And this is where majority of engineers, they struggle, because we are very analytical and we are very logic. And when you write those things, when you have to address competencies, it's not very analytical. It's not very logic. So that's why we struggle. I did, and I had to do a lot of studies to improve myself. So gotta really pay attention to the 16 competencies. If you don't address those 16 competencies at the level that you're applying for, remember that you can apply for professional engineer, engineering technologist, and engineering associate or technician. So when you're addressing the competencies, if you don't address at the level that you are applying for, Engineers Australia may reject your application as well. We got a few questions, so I'm going to go to some of the questions and then I'll keep going. And again, remember again, take notes of some of the hints or the information that you think is useful. I'm going to do an Instagram post live here, and then I would like to see some comments. If I can see some comments in the Instagram post, I will then put this PDF in my Telegram group. So the Telegram group, you go to the Facebook comments and YouTube comments. I put the link for you to join my Telegram group, and I'm going to put the PDF in there. And the PDF will have a password, so I'm going to share the password later on. So some of the first question that I got here was from Mauro, and he's asking, Gerson, is necessary TOEFL or another language certificate if I decide to move to Australia working as mechanic engineering? Now, that's a very good question, Mauro. I can probably tell you about the English tests that you gotta do for the validation process. I'm not really sure about the migration tests. You probably need to talk to a migration agent about the tests that are accepted by the Department of Home Affairs for you to do your migration process. But for the validation process, there are 3 English tests that you can do. You can do IELTS, you can do TOEFL, and you can do PTE. So there are three English tests that you can do for your validation tests. There are minimum scores for your English tests, and each test you have 4 bands: listening, writing, speaking, and reading. So those 4 bands, you gotta have minimum scores in each of those bands, depending on the test that you do. For example, if you do IELTS, you gotta have minimum score of 6 in each of the 4 bands. So gotta have a minimum score of 6. The other question that I've got here in Facebook, let me see. A question from Muhammad. Is there any specific format for submitting work experience for CDR? If yes, from where we can get that format? Yeah, that's a very good question, Muhammad. Certainly there is the CDR. We gotta just probably differentiate a few terminologies. CDR means competency demonstration report, and CDR, let's say that it's the higher level process. So it's actually the pathway for you to validate your overseas qualification. So CDR is the overall process, and then you have 6 steps in under the CDR. The CDR, those 6 steps, they are in the Migration Skills Assessment booklet from Engineers Australia. And perhaps you're talking about the format for the career episodes. If you are talking about the format and the structure of the career episodes, it's also in the Migration Skills Assessment booklet. But in a nutshell, the structure of the career episode, you've got to write 3. It starts with the introduction, and then goes to the background, and then goes to the personal engineering activity, and then it's the summary of your career episode. So four sections in your career episode. And where you can get that format, the format is in the Migration Skills Assessment booklet in the Engineers Australia website. In my free workshop, towards the end of this month, starting on the 29th of November, 10 a.m. And why 10 a.m. Brisbane time? Because I actually have an opening workshop, opening webinar, where I am live in this webinar. I explain how the workshop is going to work, and I also talk about a subject about the validation process. In my workshop, I released 3 videos, recorded videos, and the format and the structure of the career episode I talk about in video number 3, I think. And the format and structure of the CDR, the 6 steps for the CDR, I speak in video number 1. So, and I say that the workshop event is 100% online and 100% free as well. It goes from one Sunday, the 29th of November, and finishes the other Sunday, the 6th of December. So it's 7 days, a full week of a lot of content. And after you participate in this workshop, you will learn the whole process that you can start your CDR application. Let me see the other question. Yeah, Muhammad suggested, sir, you don't need to call me sir, Muhammad. You can just call me Jerson. Also create WhatsApp group. I actually created last year, Muhammad, a WhatsApp group. And the trouble with WhatsApp group is that you can just have 256 members in the group. So when I created the WhatsApp group last year, it filled out very, very quickly, and a lot of people, they were out. So and then last year I did a little bit of research, and then I found that Telegram is an app like WhatsApp, and I can create a group, and I can have 200,000 people in the group. So it's certainly more than enough. I've got 740 people now, and I can have 200,000 people in my group. So I don't believe I will get to that point. Maybe one day. And also another thing about WhatsApp and Telegram, maybe you know, maybe you don't, but WhatsApp group, it has an algorithm. So it means that the message that I send in the group does not necessarily go to you because of the algorithm. When you have groups, small groups, I've got groups in WhatsApp with my family and my friends, 10 people, 20 people, 30 people. Then when you send a message, it goes to everybody. But when you have large groups of more than 200, 256, for example, the messages, they don't go to everybody. The messages go to those ones that they check the group more often. And with Telegram is different. Telegram does not have algorithm, and a message that I send, a video that I send, an audio that I send, it goes to everybody. It's your decision as a group member to open and then consume the content. So that's why I prefer Telegram, because I know that the message goes to everybody. The other question I got, and thanks very much, guys, for your questions. It really kind of motivates me to keep going, because I like to interact with you guys. The other question, if I have experience, that's from Guilherme Pellegrini in Facebook. If I have experience as an electronic technician, but not as an electrical engineer, can I still apply to be recognized in Australia, or I must have experience as an electrical engineer? Yeah, thanks for the question, Guilherme, and that's a very good question, and very common question, actually. And the answer is, you can apply to be an electrical engineer, even if you do have just the electronic technician. However, perhaps it's better for you to use experiences from your academic experience. Obviously, you graduated as an electrical engineer, and as an electrical engineer graduated at university, you will have some academic experience. And those experiences, they are at the professional engineer level. You could be using your electronic technician experience, part of, perhaps not the full career episode just in that, because if you use your experience as electronic engineer in your career episode, you're probably not going to demonstrate the competencies that are required for the professional engineer, simply because your experience was at the technician level. And having experience at the technician level, you may not be able to demonstrate the experience at the professional engineer level. So what could happen is that you can apply with your experience as an electronic technician, and Engineers Australia may reject your application as a professional engineer, but perhaps could offer you to recognize you as a technician. So, and then it's up to you to accept or not. I've seen already somebody from Pakistan that he's applied for electrical engineer, but he was offered by Engineers Australia to be recognized as an engineering technologist, because his experience was more for the technologist level, not engineer level. And for his migration purpose, he spoke to his migration agent, and the migration agent said to him, yeah, that's okay. We can apply for your migration with the technologist recognition. So he accepted that, and he said to me, oh, Jers, I'm going to apply as a technologist. Later on, with more experience, I will apply for a professional engineer. But if you have access to your academic work, you can then apply for professional engineer using your academic experience. All right. Keep going with the content. I've got a few more questions from Lucas and from Yashvir. So I will talk to this, I think, another two topics: plagiarism and evidences. Just another couple of reasons why you could be rejected by Engineers Australia. And then once I finish these two topics, I'll go back to those questions from Lucas and Yashvir. And then I'm going actually to do the post in Instagram, and then you can put your comments in there. And I'm already 35 minutes, so I'll probably need to finish soon. So the other reason why Engineers Australia can reject your CDR application is because of plagiarism. So plagiarism is really, really serious and very, very dangerous. Unfortunately, there are some engineers that they ended up copying things. They copy and paste somebody else's CDR or somebody else's career episode or summary statement, etc. And Engineers Australia, they have a very advanced software to detect plagiarism. So if you copy and paste, you will get caught. If you ask somebody to write on your behalf, you will get caught. If you engage a company to write your reports, you will get caught. Even though there's a lot of companies that they say that they're going to give you a plagiarism-free report. So how much can you trust something? In this case, it's like you buying a fake product. You know that's fake. And then the seller is saying, I'll give you a certificate of authenticity of a fake product. You know that's fake, but you still get a certificate saying that's not fake. So same thing with these companies, that they promise you that you're not going to get caught, that your report is original, and they will write, they will do everything for you. You can do whatever you want. Obviously, you're adult and you can make your decision. You just got to make sure that you understand the risks of that. Engineers Australia today, they are banning engineers up to 3 years. Until last year was up to 1 year, and they changed, and now they are banning engineers that they are caught by plagiarism up to 3 years. So it means that for 3 years, you cannot apply again to get your qualification recognized. And once you get caught once, even if you wait 3 years, imagine how Engineers Australia is going to assess your application again, knowing that you already copied and pasted or you engaged somebody to write on your behalf. So, as I said before, guys, the process is simple. It's not easy, it's difficult, but it's simple. And it's not worthwhile paying somebody, engaging somebody to write on your behalf, because you never know where did that person get the report. The person could say to you that it's original, but that person could have just copied and pasted everything and changed few things. If you do that, Engineers Australia will catch you. The software, the plagiarism detection software is very advanced. So I know that sometimes it's very tempting, you don't have time, etc., etc., etc. My suggestion, don't do that. It takes obviously more time and more effort and more work for you to write everything, but you got to think, if you are banned for 3 years, and Engineers Australia also let the Department of Home Affairs about this, because you're breaching the code of conduct. And as you know, if you're going to apply for a migration visa later on, one of the assessments that the Australian government, they do is character assessment. And it's not going to be good for you in your migration process if you have an observation from Engineers Australia that you breached the code of conduct of Engineers Australia and you had your application rejected. So I don't know, you can do whatever you want. I'm just saying that you got to understand the risk that you are taking. And the other dot point that I would like to talk to you before I answer the other questions there. Let's see if I have more questions. Is about evidences. And a lot of people, they get rejected because they don't really have enough evidences. And unfortunately, you will have to produce evidences. Engineers Australia is going to assess your application, everything that you wrote, everything that you said that you did, but you will need to provide evidences. And what sort of evidences? If you are going to do an academic work, if you're going to write about an academic experience, you will need, probably, Engineers Australia has asked many times, a copy of your report, of your academic report. If it was a final assessment, if it was an assignment that you did, Engineers Australia has asked many times already for you to provide a copy of that report. If you are going to write about a work experience, you will need a reference letter from your company. The supervisor that's signing that you did whatever you're saying that you did. You perhaps, if you don't have the letter, you perhaps will have to have government documents to produce as evidence. For example, your tax return, your security, social security statements, your superannuation statements, bank statements showing that the company actually paid your salary, etc., etc., etc. Even if you have a reference letter and all of those documents, you probably will need to demonstrate in your career episodes evidences of your professional that support your professional experience. For example, tables, diagrams, photos, calculations, AutoCAD drawings that you did. Everything that you did, you will need to reference that in your career episode. If you don't have access to those evidences, you have probably 50% of chance of Engineers Australia not accepting your career episode. Because how can you demonstrate your professional engineering competency if you cannot prove that you did, when you're saying that you used that diagram, or when you created a spreadsheet, when you used that design, whatever table, or pictures or photos of your product. If you cannot produce that, how can you demonstrate and prove that you actually did? So it's really important when you choose your experience. You need to choose experience that you actually have access to those evidences. All right. Going to have more questions there. So what I'm going to do first, I'm going to publish I'm going to take a picture. I'm going to take a picture of myself. Now I'm going to take a picture of my screen. The picture of my mobile phone. And I'm going to publish in Facebook. Sorry, Instagram. So say she's. So took a picture there. And I'm going to publish now in my Instagram. And I'm going to ask a question there. So tell me one learning from tonight's live session. So, okay. And how many people we are here? We are 10 people live in Instagram and 4 people in Facebook. So what I'll do, I'm sharing now. So what I'll do, I would like to see 6 comments, and if you could mark 1 person each. So I would like to see 6 comments and you marking 6 people until I finish this live session. And if I see that, I will prepare a PDF with the notes of this live session, and I'm going to put in my Telegram. And the Telegram and the PDF is going to be protected by a password, and the password is going to be rejected. It's going to be rejected, all in small caps. So that's going to be the password. I'm just taking notes here. Password is going to be rejected. So rejected, all in small caps, is going to be the password to unlock the PDF that I'm going to place in my Telegram group with the notes of this live session. All right, so let's see here. I just published that. Where can I see my stuff here? I'm not very good at those sort of things. So, all right, so 6 comments. And if you could mark 6 people, I will then release a PDF of this live session in my Telegram group. So the other questions that I got here. So the question from Lucas. How it takes to get it validated? How long is the whole process? So the first question, how it takes to get it validated? I didn't understand how it takes. What? Takes time or takes money? Takes effort? If you can clarify a little bit, Lucas, in your question, while I answer the second one. The second one is, how long is the whole process? Well, how long is the whole process? That's a very good question. Depends on how much time you're going to put in. I can share with you what one of my students, some of you do know, others probably not, but I have an online mentoring program called Validation Formula, where I actually teach people how to prepare your CDR. So you don't need to pay somebody to write on your behalf, and you don't need to copy and paste. You don't risk plagiarism. I teach the whole process for you, step by step. And one student of mine, she had a very tight time frame because she had to apply for a visa. And she watched my classes, and she prepared and applied for the process in just 2.5 weeks. Just 2.5 weeks, she applied for the whole process, and she finished everything. She put together all the documentation. She wrote the reference letters. She had her CPD, continuing professional development. She wrote the 3 career episodes, and she wrote the summary statement, and she applied in just 2.5 weeks. Obviously, it was her priority, and she spent a lot of time to do that. So, but it's not really uncommon for you to apply perhaps in 30 days. I've got already a lot of people that they did in 30 days. After, obviously, they watched my classes, they understood really well what they needed to do, and then in 30 days, they did everything. I've got one of my students that was environmental engineer, that he was validated in April this year. He did in 15 days what he didn't do in 3 years. So how long does it take? Depends on your effort. If you dedicate few hours a week, you're probably going to be able to finish in probably a month or 2, writing everything. And unless you're really desperate, you then can dedicate a lot of time. But I actually suggest you not to just do it at once, because you can actually get very tired mentally, and it's not good for you. So if you dedicate few hours a week, and then you can do a good planning. Obviously, we are all engineers, we're good at planning. Planning is very important in this process. You need to spend a lot of time planning what you're going to do, planning your experiences, planning what you're going to write, planning to see the preparation of your documents. In my mentoring program, I actually teach, I've got a tool to help you to assess which experience is better for you to write in your career episode. Let me see other questions there. And thanks for the comments. I can see that there are a few comments. And so please, I need a few more comments so I can release the PDF. So the comments goes in my last post in my Instagram. So if you can put your comments there, one of the learnings that you had in this live session, and if you can mark somebody, another engineer that perhaps would benefit in knowing this content, I will then release the PDF in the Telegram. The other question that I have here was from Muhammad. He was asking about IELTS academic or general. IELTS can be general. TOEFL needs to be academic, but IELTS can be general. Yashvir, he asked, he or she, sorry, I don't know the names. Ashvir, you're from India, but I'm just guessing that it's a he. He's saying, I'm new in this group. Last week I have got assessment results from Engineers Australia and got mechanical professional engineer with 11.5 years of experience. Well done, Yashvir. Congratulations. My question, does Australia have mechanical product design engineering jobs? What are the main requirements from employers? Therefore, I can start my preparation. Well, if you have already 11.5 years of experience, and I'm guessing that this experience perhaps is in India. Currently, Australia, obviously, especially after this pandemic, it's in recession, officially in recession after many, many decades. So, which means, what does it mean when a country goes into recession? It means that unemployment increases, and unemployment is not discriminatory. It reaches hospitality, it reaches manufacturing, it reaches construction, it goes to many other industries. And unfortunately, there are engineers that are unemployed. So in these times of pandemic, it means that then the competition to get a job is obviously much higher. And in this particular question, mechanical product design engineering jobs, there are certainly a lot of jobs for mechanical product design engineering. Obviously, the question is, what do I need to do to be more competitive when I am applying for those jobs? So that's the $1 million question. But you have 11.5 years of experience. In last live session, I spoke about, you're not an international student, but I spoke about some hints for international students to get a professional job here in Australia. And one hint is perhaps, even though you have 11.5 years of experience, Yashvir, perhaps you need to apply for jobs that is slightly lower level, so you can get your foot in the door and you can start working in the industry. Perhaps not as an engineer, perhaps an assistant designer, perhaps a draftsperson. And then once you are in the industry, then you get to know, you improve your networking. People will get to know that you are an engineer and validated. And perhaps you get exposed to more job opportunities as an engineer. So that would be my suggestion for you. Other questions that I have. I got an Instagram. I got another question. Nico was asking, do you know if Cambridge exam could be accepted? I think that Cambridge exam is accepted in overall migration processes. I'm not sure, but as far as the validation process, the booklet says just IELTS, TOEFL, and PTE. So Cambridge, I cannot see in the booklet that Cambridge is accepted. So that's unfortunate. So IELTS, TOEFL, and PTE. All right. Yeah, some of the comments that people did in Instagram. Nico said, it's not enough to describe your experience in the career episodes, but you should be able to demonstrate where did you take the information from. Yeah, that's certainly correct, Nico. In Daudio, plagiarism is illegal when applying to validate your degree, and he's marked somebody else. Yeah, that's true. All right. So if you can put a comment in Instagram in the last post and mark somebody. Let me see what else do I have here. So again, for those that join a little bit later on, I'm going to do my free workshop this month, starting on the 29th of November, which is a Sunday, 10 a.m. Brisbane time. And I'm going to start with the opening webinar. It's going to be a live webinar where I'm going to explain how the workshop is going to happen. It's going to be pretty much 8 days, starting on a Sunday and finish the next Sunday. And also I'm going to talk about one topic about the validation process. So for those that arrived just now, I'm going to copy and paste again the link for you to register for free in the workshop. Those ones in Instagram, you can go to my bio and there is a link in there. In the link, when you click, it will open up a registration page and you can register for free for that workshop. And I'm going to also copy and paste the link for you to join my Telegram group. My Telegram group is Engineering Qualification Validation. For the Telegram, you gotta download the app first, and then you can go to that link, and then you can join the group. So I'll check how many comments I have in Instagram. Yeah, I've got 3 comments. Ivinha said here, always have documentation to back up your chosen profession. That's certainly correct, Ivinha. And she's marked somebody as well. Good. Well, although I didn't get the 6 comments and the 6 people marked, what I'll do, I'll still going to put a very brief PDF in the Telegram group. The PDF is going to be protected, and the password for the PDF is rejected. I'm going to write here just the word. People that probably look at later on will probably not going to understand. So I'll post in Instagram, and again I posted in my other profile, as you can see. Rejected in Facebook, rejected in YouTube. So that's going to be the password to unlock the PDF. So those ones that are here in the live session, you have the benefit of unlocking the PDF. All right. Just going to check if I have any last questions. I'm going to finish the session for tonight after almost 1 hour. And I would like to really thank you very much, guys. And I'll see you next Sunday, 8:30 p.m. in another live session. Thank you very much, and bye-bye.